I'm Margaret in Windsor, and I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers, and Peggy was a twin to Carl, and Carl had been, were born out of wedlock, and Carl was killed about a month after birth, and it was in the winter, so there was no autopsy. They just buried him, but she murdered him. And then about a week to 2 weeks before I was put there, kidnapped and put there, they killed Peggy and gave me her name. And I grew up using the name um, and horrifying. But I put all this up. My father was Edward VIII, and he was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, uh, Windsor, 1936, when he was king. He was taken down because he would not follow orders of the Illuminati, your global government, which now is the United Nations. In New York, it's the world without borders, is what it is, and they control everything. They already do. Uh, they put chips. And it's biblical. I did not know that when I was started writing the book, medical malpractice book back in 1976 in Marietta, Georgia. And Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, March the 6th of 78. And his insides blown all over the sidewalk there. So anyway, the man's in a wheelchair and he's paralyzed from his neck down. So Governor Wallace, who ran for president, George Wallace, was shot by a programmed shooter, just like the guy was programmed to shoot Larry Flint, and there's a number of other people. But it's about the Tesla files I was writing about, where you can cure an illness or create one, and they were stolen back in 1930. And the files were very important, but I didn't want to dwell on this right at the moment. By the way, you can YouTube it or look back and find that Donald Trump, the president, who I happen to like, I hope he's a good guy, but he's president now, and I'm doing this book back in 76. I began doing the book. Had a letter from the FBI June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. So the ongoing is ongoing torture, me and my children, and I put that up. So I wanted to put this bit up. Of course, I was almost killed too many times, and they almost succeeded. Worked for the district attorney in 80 after April Fool's Day when they almost did kill me. And I'm going to put this in because I didn't know Newt Gingrich, and he may be a good guy. He was senator in politics. I didn't know till today he was from Cobb County. He has to know Buddy Darden, who I liked. He ran when I ran to replace Larry McDonald, Congressman Dr. April the 31st of 83, when he was supposedly on the KAL that was shot down by the Soviets when it flew into their airspace, which was 10 miles in. That's what you can do with mind control, too. I mean, it can be used on anybody. The pilot's simply programmed to fly off course, and obviously they're going to shoot him down. And by the way, Richard Nixon was taken off that flight just before it took off. The same one from Juneau to Seoul, South Korea, with 200 and I think I know it was 80-something people aboard. What I want to tell about now, though, is I ended up here in Roanoke in I come here in 86, in October of 86. And I have an autoimmune disorder. When I'm around toxic fumes, I get really sick. It causes mass inflammation, and over years it kills you. I mean, it can attack all your body organs, and I know my heart. I have a heart arrhythmia now, and I don't know what else. I've certainly lived a hell of a life, not feeling good. it's like, well, anyway, what I want to get to now, I've put all this up like a narrative of my life the best I could do, because nothing has gone to court to about the real criminals paying for their crimes. Nobody's been held accountable. Now, I've told about it's like, is your environment poisoning? It's poison, so is it killing you or tearing you up? And I'm speaking in terms that tearing me up. It was when I first learned, and I had worked for doctors, but so I don't know why no one told me that I had an autoimmune disorder. So anyway, you're around toxic fumes. The fumes trigger my immune system to attack itself. And you can get so sick if you don't. You either have to get away from it, or the people stop what they're doing. So this has been done deliberately to me. And I'm specifically talking about after I came here in '86, and I've put the names up here of who, or that I've had to go from their place to place. Well, who's ordering it done? Also, I mean, I went to Edinburgh HUD apartment, retirement, and they did the same thing. And that's when I was so sick there and so glad to get a place. And one of the women, I'm going to say her name again, Carol Rogers Simon, she ended up with my apartment too. I don't know what she was doing there, because her husband was psychiatrist, or ex-husband, out of Seattle, Washington. And she said that he said I was paying for the crimes my family committed against the Jews, so thus the chemicals. Well, I beg pardon on that one. But anyway, that's someday, if this is ever told, maybe that's brought into play here. So this has been ongoing. It's like running me from, I don't know how many that they owned here, the people, two people, or the two names I've put up over the years, but they own everything around here, and some of them are lower so that I could get into them, because I can't. They've ruined HUD now, because same thing was done. Same people have gone in, and they do what they're told. These people do. I mean, there's no law. They would arrest me if I've told that about the woman over at Affordable Corporate Suites. Everything she did was illegal, and she told me, and they would have. She told me if I came up to pay rent, that she would call the Salem police and have me locked up for trespassing. I said, if I'm here, I'm living here. If I paid, trying to pay you the rent's all, and I always paid Johnny on the spot. And so anyway, I put a thing she tacked on my door is totally illegal. And she said, so anyway, where am I going with this, with that? They were putting chemicals in there that just, I mean, they weren't supposed to be putting in any of the apartments. You would not get the truth out of any of this unless you put these people they're brought before a court of law, and a good attorney or an honest attorney asks the right questions. They have to answer it under perjury, because all you have to do is get a couple of them up there, and they'll start squealing, because everything I've said is true, and there's paperwork and stuff to back it all up. But the thing that I'm just going to give an example of here. I've been left, and stuff used on me I'd pay for a month rent and have to leave after a couple of days. I was so sick. And I would have to get a cab and try to keep my things together and go back into Roanoke or back into Troutville and get another motel. And the same thing happened, and end up going up to the mountain to live and get run from there. And so on and so on. It was a living hell, is exactly what it's been. It's been psychological warfare and everything else thrown in. This illegal. Okay, I'm just going to get to this that happened today because I've kind of put this up how the fumes are put. You can use the air conditioning heating unit. You can soak the carpet and let it dry without getting the stuff up or cleaning it up. Some toxic fume, really toxic. And when I move in, I turn the air conditioning on and it starts pouring that. I'm just showing you a couple of things. There's so many ways. One of the people that I was thought was a friend, she said that she knew a couple of her friends were well, she had been too, a housekeeper for motels, and she said they could put, like, you plug in something to make air, the little things that put out spontaneously or timed good odors. She said they could put it under the bed. Well, they can. If you stop and think about it, people just don't like to think about it, that you can pay to go in a motel and basically use your own imagination there. Now I'm going to get back to here. I've stayed here for a year and almost a half now, and it's the better of the lot. And I had a breakfast and I had milk, and they weren't real eggs, but I had things that helped. It was hard because it was too much for me to pay. I didn't have that much money, but I'd been run from one place to the other, so I stayed here and run from room to room. And this has happened everywhere I've gone. They'll say, "Well, they have to put me in a certain room that's already allocated for me to go to when it's so bad from this one." So I end up, because I'm so sick in this room, they say, "Well, all we can do is give you another room." Well, it's already there before them what room they can give me. So this has happened um, a lot here over the year and a half. And I'm just going to use an example. When I came back from Scott Hill, I thought I was going to get that's a sick thing I put up here, too. Um, I thought I had an apartment, retirement, and it didn't work out that way. But anyway, I came back and they put me in 117 across there. And quite frankly, a couple of nights after I got here, it had bugs in it that bit me, that some kind of crawl all over you and everything. And I remember I could use the air conditioner there. It might not have been the cleanest, but at least I could use it without getting so sick. But that was so bad, I moved up to the first room up here, which was 103. And they had, the carpet had been right under, next to the air conditioning. The carpet was still wet for like 4 or 5 days, and it had horrible, horrible smell. And if I tried to turn the air on, it just poured it back into the room. So I'm just giving you an example of what's been done. But whether that had bugs on it or not, or when I came, I didn't stay there in that first room where I got them. And they moved me. Well, I moved myself up there, so I'm taking my stuff, and I'm older, and I can't pull things the way I used to. And first of all, I shouldn't be having to. It's not my fault. They're doing it to me, and I'm paying for it to be done, to have a roof over my head. So now then, people don't like for you to tell the truth. I have put up in the past the places I've been here that are owned by the two of them, but if I went somewhere else could afford it, I went. I'm going to use this real quick. A few years ago, I was downtown, and I think I had intended to get on the bus, and something happened, Greyhound bus to go out of town, and I didn't. And I had a coupon to get into one of the motels for a night that slashed it down. It was supposed to be a nice one, and it was, since it's out the airport, Valley View Mall here. Everybody knows where that's at. Okay, I went in, and it was pretty and nice. With the coupon, I still paid too much. For me. But anyway, it started smelling, and I was sick. And I thought, my God, I thought with this place and paying it, well, they're no different. They take their orders too. So I even when I started to leave, I was so sick. The woman, I mean, why? Ask yourself, why would someone even say this? She was the manager behind the desk, and she says, "Oh, I want to introduce you to the maintenance man." He was standing right beside her. I got the gist because they get to the person also that's maintenance over these places, and they get something on them, either their kids or everybody's got something to hide. So they don't have to pay for what they do to me and return for not being prosecuted, their kids or code violations or whatever. You know what I mean. So anyway, I'm up here, and I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. If I don't put it up, they're still going to do it. If I put it up, do they make it worse? They follow orders. So anyway, I'm going back and forth in rooms, and it makes me look flaky if you don't get background on what's been done to me, which is horrifying. In fact, the other day, he said something about, I thought, you can't be saying this. He was saying, well, you've gone from motel to motel and you just take off. And they, they're using chemicals on me that make me leave, which is assault and battery and everything in psychological warfare, like waterboarding, for God's sake. And then to charge me for it, to pay a month and maybe stay 2 days, and I stopped doing that, got wise, and then to stay a couple of days of a week, and they don't give the money back, and that happens so many times. You don't see any of that, plus the cab fare and the damage to me and what's happening. So anyway, I'm up in the room, and I stayed there a couple of months, I guess, and it was bad. But I stayed there, and I remember saying to him, he said, do you want to move rooms, change rooms? And I said, because I was sick, and he asked how I was feeling. It was obvious. And I said, no, I'm afraid it would be worse than this one. Well, this one that I just moved from was really bad, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I asked to be moved, and here I am. Some people off of YouTube had sent me some gifts, and my things were a little heavier, and I'm older. Here I am trying to pull it down the hallway to this room, and it was really rough. I got in here, and my point here is just like the room I moved from up there, they must have been remodeling upstairs, the room up over me. However, the room I just moved out of there, they were moving furniture and making all these noise like tin, like you're hitting tin, and the horrible noise. And they did that for a month and a half or something. And but anyway, it's the fumes that really bothered me. I could tune that out with my radio or something. And so I was so sick I had to. So they told me to come down here. Well, I got down here and I found out that the people with the pipeline, I thought they were gone, but they're still here, and they grill out a lot. And when you get that much grilling, and this side's open up here, but the rest, if you go back, so it comes into my place. And that's been a big source of being sick the last few days. But they must be modeling upstairs. And I'm so sick. It's whatever they're using is the most horrible thing. I mean, it's like it's going to kill me. I thought a while ago, about 2 hours ago, I was so sick that I just balled up, and I thought, my God, I'll be dead.